So, welcome to Following Spirit Without Hesitation, Journeys into Deepening Trust. And today I have with me Dr. Jason Schroeder. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to you and the rest of the world.
Good morning. So, I met Jason when I was early on in my shamanic path, when my formal shamanic training, and I'd just shifting out of a Buddhist path that I'd been on for 16 years. And we met on a vision quest. And Jason at the time inspired me with what he talked about as answering the call. And I understood enough about following spirit. I just hadn't had that much practice at it, but there I was. and then later, Jason helped me make my first drum. He facilitates sweat lodges. So he, I believe, would describe himself as a visionary and change maker and earth walker who follows a medicine path. And yeah, so I've been with, he's facilitated a few sweat lodges, in a sweat lodge that he has built himself in line with, we are both live in Scotland, in line with that, what would have been the traditional Scottish sweat lodges. And I've had some rare and informal apprenticeship training at random moments when I've attended the sweat lodges. So is there anything else that you would like to add to what I have just said, Jason, about yourself, or any of the other stories that are contained within that?
Well, I think maybe firstly, after these many years, I have an issue somewhat with the word sweat lodge, which has been, let's say, taken by anthropologists seeing some indigenous people doing some stuff, going into a heated room and coming like a sauna and coming out rather sweaty. And they're being called sweat lodges. Of course, these anthropologists who are seeing these First Nations people had no idea what the spiritual context was of what was going on inside this place. So these days, yes, sweat lodge is commonly known in general conversation, but I prefer to call them a purification and renewal ceremony because that is what they are. You're going into these places and spaces and allowing yourself to be reborn, cleansed, purified, and reborn, coming back out. So something's changing within you. It isn't just going to the gym and jumping into a sauna and getting hot and then coming out. This is a spiritual element that drives the design of this ancient ceremony, which we see not, I mean, it's been popularized through the Native American or First Nations people of America, as it's now known in our modern world. Of course, America didn't exist when these people were living there. But for this conversation, we won't get into that today. But there is a conversation, understanding around that, is that this is a very deep honoring of the human spirit, connecting to spirit, your spirit, and why 25 years on, I do them still for myself and now for others with the blessing of my teachers, is that it is this place where I felt for the first time in my life, after studying and being involved in quite a few different religions, I'd come home. This was my, what we would call church, but a real church, not a bricks and mortar, but this holy place within myself that I found in me. And still today, unless I may be in nature or under a waterfall or something like that, it is that place that it lets me to connect with that unhuman part of myself, of spirit, that coexists and moves this vehicle that you see presently called Jason Schroeder. And that is such a profound, beautiful thing, which in the Western traditions we're not taught. We're kind of taught through religion, in my opinion, that we've got to give it away to priests or others to connect with spirit, God, or whatever you want to call these deities, whatever. To me, that was never, I never felt comfortable with that. And it was always an inside job. And I think in the teachings of apparently what Jesus said in the Christian traditions, it is an inside job. It's not somebody else can do it for you. And this is why probably we're talking today is about following the spirit, the inner voice, the connection to your divinity, and how can you walk it and be it in this modern world, or as a human being, presently as a human being.
Yeah.
So I think I just really like to add that around the ceremony, which to me is so precious and changed my life, not to be called that. And to me, it's just a bit derogatory and a bit uninformative. Yeah.
Yeah. And 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 in doing that and saying that, you sort of beautifully brought us into talking about following spirit with, without hesitation, and that process and some of that process. So what does that following spirit mean for you? We were talking before we started the recording that many of us have a different perspective. We have longer term perspectives of going through that process, and some people are being almost like catapulted vertically into their sort of spiritual awakenings, where some of us have had a longer, slower trajectory, and so therefore more experience, and we can see what it has unfolded and how following that guidance and following that inner knowing has just created this this beauty and almost the miraculous within our lives that we could have never ever created for ourselves without that guidance, without that like you were saying earlier, the non-human element of ourselves and that connection. So would you like to say something about what that is like for you, what that process of that connection and that following, it changes from the first time, we start to learn about what that is, but anything you would like to say about the actual process, whether it was from whether it's a process of comparison or just how it is for you, whatever comes up for you as wanting to share around that.
Okay. Yeah, I can speak a bit on that. So always from my perspective, not anybody else's. That could take us down many rabbit holes. You've just opened up right there. So try to be as succinct or focused on that as possible, maybe. We come into this life, baby, and so it depends what your belief is, of course. You might believe that you come in here and you might be like a flower or an earthworm or a cow or something, and when you die, and that's it. You're just an inanimate object and you're organic and that's it. Okay, so that is not my belief, first of all. My belief is that I am eternal. There's a spirit, an energy of consciousness that travels through infinite quantum non-timelines as we know time. And that being, for some reason, has been born into this planet, through these parents. And so really from day one, you are conscious because you're coming into the mortal world. And on one level, the fontanelle is open on the brain, on the skull. And I believe the spirit in those early years is moving in and out. And as the fontanelle closes up, maybe what happens is the spirit connection, you become more trapped in a way in this physical form, and the doors have slowly closed, and here you are away from the mothership or away from the other realities. Then the pineal gland has to wake up, and if you live with parents who are not into spiritual awareness or psychic talk or even understanding any of that, which many are, particularly in the Western world. As a child, that's closed down. Oh, I'm seeing fairies. I have an imaginary friend. Oh, well, ha ha, oh, yes, oh, little Jimmy or Carol's got an imaginary friend. How cute. That kind of conversation, which I've heard thousands of times. And in many indigenous cultures, that isn't the case, but where that is seen as a gift and an awareness of where the child might move in their spirit through for the tribe and for the collective. So everyone's really happy when a child's born in the tribe because they're bringing something from the spirit world that hasn't existed before. So in some indigenous ways, we say the tribe or the village brings up a child. It's not brought up by a parent. Very different in our world where we're all individuals and we're divided and kept individual in our queendoms and kingdoms. So it is in some way you're born with spirit, of course, otherwise you couldn't animate this human body. When does the awareness come in? Or you should maybe say, when is the awareness taken out of your
Yeah.
consciousness is more of an important question to ask, particularly for
Yeah.
new parents now who are having children who are see is profoundly different from children that were born 60 years ago, 100 years ago. It definitely seems to me that the children incarnating today are incredibly wise, intact, and don't have to learn the slow trajectory that you mentioned. They're just like, oh, we're already coming in here. Boom. We already know this stuff. And it's like, how do you know that stuff? It's taken me 50 years to learn it.
Yeah.
And in my dad's lifetime, maybe he never learned it, or he learned one thing. It's like that. So I
It's
think to
amazing.
get back onto the question, is to look at that and check that story in with yourself, because
Mm.
this is your journey. There's that great analogy or whatever, which is like, when you die on your death on your gravestone, if you have such a thing, there's a date when you were born and a date when you died, and that little line in between, that's your life. Not the dates are important. The line's important. So, what is your line going to look like? And only you are going to know that. So, for me, it was, when did I become aware that I wasn't what I was told I was? A human being and a baby and going to school and getting into the cultural system of um, imprisonment, really. Because from your first breath, your culture is telling you what you're going to be. And they will send you to school and they will indoctrinate you so you will be what they want you to be. It isn't like, oh, well, I want to be an artist or I want to be a rock star. I want to be David Bowie, man. Hey, I'm really pissed off because I never became David Bowie. I'm gutted. But I was told I'm a rock star because I come from the stars and I'm made of rock. So that was the best I had to do with my disillusionment of not being David Bowie as a kid and playing guitar and being a lead singer, Like, hey, Spirit had a different journey for me there. So it was, when did I become aware in myself that I wasn't the personality Jason Schroeder, but there was a voice inside me that could observe me, and I'm a third party. And who is that voice that speaks to me? Who is this intelligence, this gut intelligence that directs me out of the brain, which has been corrupted, the emotions which have been corrupted? The gut brain is 100% connected to soul and spirit, in my opinion. And I need to learn to trust those feelings and the guidance that comes from that, which is not through the brain, but through the feeling centers of the body. And as men, we're generally told to close those down and not feel. And as women, you're told to keep them open. So we're ready as a man, that's a real issue, particularly going into the military and having to fight wars and do those kind of things. Can't really do that if you're into the emotional field of possibly killing other people if you're emotionally connected. So they close us men down on purpose in this culture. I believe that is now changing, thankfully, after 100, 200,000 years of our species. And the children coming in today are and the boys are definitely more emotionally connected, for sure.
Yes.
So it's the awareness of what's happening inside you. Our culture, in my opinion, says everything happens outside of you and never look inside. That's the con.
Yeah.
Go go and be attracted to the shiny stuff, the stuff that you have to have, and everybody out there judging you and saying you're this and you're that, and this is what's building my personality. No, that's the lie. You look inside yourself and find out it's an inside job. What is your spirit speaking to you about? Because it is eternal and wise, and it will guide your human path, your earth walk, which is predestined to some degree, I believe, which we can speak on. In my young 60 odd years of looking back on my life, of these synchronicities that has followed these things, and we're like, wow, how on earth did that happen? Because in the culture I was born in, South Africa, it was not present. So why did these things evolve and come about? And why have I followed them, which goes against my cultural conditioning?
Yeah. That's a big story right there. Yeah.
Well, we've got a little bit of time.
Wow, I could listen to you all day right now, Jason. So, would you like to share one of those stories of that unraveling the cultural conditioning and learning to follow that inner knowing, learning to follow those feelings and being able to keep those centers open, which, as you said, as a man is especially challenging.
Yeah, sure. So let's go back to when I was born. I'm in South Africa. I'm a middle class white guy, middle class family. Nothing special in the world of kings and queens and peasants and that hierarchy system. Very well known in Britain, not so well known in white South Africa. Definitely kings and that in the black African tradition and their royal families, but not as colonists or invaders coming into this as into a colony. And certainly 100, 200 years on, I'm born into this world as who you see today. Why then, in a white South African lifestyle, at the age of 3 or 4, I have a picture and a very good memory of me sitting in a teepee, which is a pyramidal shaped Native American home, which some traditional people lived in, which you might have seen on Hollywood movies, is well popularized. Why on earth would I want a teepee for Christmas? And a picture my folks took of me in my nappy, sitting on the veranda, having my Christmas dinner. Remember, South Africa is summer for Christmas over there, really hot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to the table and having my Christmas dinner with the family. I'm sitting outside in my teepee with my Christmas lunch. And that makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. I have 3 brothers. My middle brother follows an Eastern Indian tradition, which my father ended up doing as well. That's another whole bizarre if relations of a Christian background moving into Eastern Indian stuff. But I was never attracted to that. Now, my older brother, he's 8 years older than me. He's also attracted to Native Americans and is making moccasins and doing stuff as well. So why of these 3 brothers are 2 that are living in South Africa somehow interested in Native American culture?
Mhm.
So let's fast forward 20 years. I connect to the Spiritualist Church and meet an amazing woman who's a spiritual medium, probably one of the best trance mediums I've ever encountered in my life. And for about 8, 9 years, I had the privilege of studying with her, and her husband would do healing ceremonies where I went and helped him and learned from, and then the transfiguration and trance mediumship from her. And that ended up being, 2 times a week. One night would be about people coming for healing modalities, which just blow your mind when you see what we saw and what we experienced. which really broke me open in my 20s to going, oh, I'm not a physical human being. This is insane. What is going on here? And then the spiritual medium side, where she would channel through completely and transform. Her main guide is a Native American, shows up as a Native American. Well, lo and behold, I find out that my main guide, spiritual guide, is also shows up as a Native American. I'm also connected to the Tibetans and Mongolians very strongly. And what, then we have, wow, the Mongolian and the Native American people, they're like the same people. Oh, did they go across the Bering Strait? Well, as my one teacher said to me, actually, that's a white man's myth. They walked across the Great Bering Strait into America. No, we were always here. What we did is we crossed and went and looked into Europe and saw, oh my God, this is a cesspit. We're going back home again. So they left and they went back home again. Fantastic indigenous humor, or maybe some truth in it, as we found out along the way, right? No, it did not start with the supreme white empire elitists by a long shot. We could talk about witch trials and why they eradicated the medicine people of our culture, and how I've been blessed with, accepted by, let's just call them for this conversation, Native American elder, who I met in Scotland and then apprenticed to for 20 odd years. Why was I called to this Native American Indian, story where everybody else is running around wanting to be cowboys? I want to be the Indian, and the Indian always gets beaten and shot in the Hollywood movies. It's just that in calling. So we go from 3, 4 years old. We then go into my 20s, moving forward into my early 30s, following the spiritual church, Native American influence coming through. And eventually I moved to Scotland with my wife and a baby of 1 year old. She's Scottish. I meet her in South Africa. She is also totally into Native Americans as well. She's Scottish, for heaven's sake. Growing up here in Aberdeenshire, the furthest place away from that culture. Nope, we have this affinity. On we go. And I am then living in Scotland a couple of years, and a friend of mine says to me, oh, there's a Native American guy giving a talk down in Garth D. Do you want to go to it? I was like, wow, I've never met a Native American. That'll be amazing. So yeah, let's go. So we'd done some other stuff in the day. We got down there quite late. He was giving a talk in one of the village halls. And basically coming from South Africa with a 20-to-1 rate of exchange, quite poor over here. And they wanted £5 to go to listen to the talk. I was like, £5, that's like 100 Rand. I'm going to pay 100 Rand to listen to some geezer talk about, I don't think so. Anyway, I better get home. And so I didn't go. But one of his wives said, do you want to meet him before you go? Now, this is where spirit comes in. So this is the spirit move. Like, nobody else, as far as I'm aware of that talk, was like, do you want to meet the guy? I believe you're in a magazine and stuff. Yeah, I'm doing a little magazine called Horizons, which was I was publishing from home, which was trying to bring spiritual people together in Aberdeen because I couldn't find anybody. There's no community here back then in, 90s, 97, 98. And so he comes through and we have this conversation, and he says to me, well, actually, I'm in Ballata. I'm doing this thing called a sweat lodge. And if you want to come up there and interview me for your magazine, you can. Now, that's a spirit move right there.
Yeah.
So long story short, I go and I meet him, and we're just connected like that. So I interview him. I then get invited to go to a sweat lodge. I go the next weekend. I go to the sweat lodge. All I can explain is that I've come home. I have found my home. My spirit home in me has come about through this man who carries a tradition which has been lost to us here. Well, now we know that sweat lodges they found them in Orkney, they found them in Africa, they found them all over the place in the world. They've just been popularized by the Native American people or Hollywood or whatever. So it is an indigenous ceremony that takes place, and my indigenous European found himself in that lodge, in the womb, in the darkness, in those hot rocks, in the singing, in the chanting. And when I came out, I was meditating, and I saw walking up a pathway to everything went black and white. And I saw two Native Americans on one spotted pony, one white pony, walk past me. This is in Scotland. And one looked back and looked at me and then disappeared. And I was like, wow. Then I found out that he actually he's not just a traveling medicine man. He actually does accept people to be apprentices. And I took it that spirit who looked back and looked at me gave me the nod to kind of say, this is the path to follow. And so I apprenticed to him for 20 odd years. And, you know, that beautiful tradition, I've for many years felt shamed because I'm a white man who our ancestors from Europe went there and killed and created a genocide on those beautiful people for their own greed. And here I am, little me, learning his ways, not their ways. He never taught, and this is very clear about this, he never taught an Ojibwe, a Choctaw, a Sioux way. What he said was, I'm not teaching you our people's medicine songs or anything like that. My journey is to teach you the five-fingered race, to teach you the bones of ceremony, the rawness of ceremony that takes you to that place which is inside of you to awaken. So don't worry about you're going to be blamed. Oh, you're stealing our indigenous ways. I'm not teaching that. I'm teaching the basics, that when you know the basics of the ceremony, you will write and learn your own songs from your people and bring them back. Because around the cultural indigenous table, you're missing, and we're missing our brothers and sisters. And we need you back to make the family, the human family, whole again. So one of my visions is that me doing this earth walk and teaching people this way is not teaching the ways of our tribes, but I'm teaching the core spiritual essence to get you there to that place. And that's what he did. What's what he brought for me. So he didn't become the holy priest or the pope or anybody like that. He became the change maker. He became the conduit that allowed me to find the spirit within myself. And because of that beautiful, we call it the beauty way, I've sort of continued that earth walk. And I then in years offered it to others as well when I got given the blessing that I knew enough to be able to do such ceremonies safely for others, which took many, many years.
That's just so beautiful. Wow. That's a teaching in itself, Jason. That's really, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Deeply touched by that, the profound medicine within that story, and learning more about your, I'm not sure if you mentioned him by name, so I'm a bit cautious about mentioning your teacher by name.
Oh no, his name was John Two Birds. He's now in spirit. When he could no longer have apprentices, I was very blessed. I went to America and I met a good friend of his, Jeff Tucker, who had Cherokee blood, and he accepted me as an apprentice. And you honestly couldn't meet two different types of men. Oh my goodness, they're just like, what? your best mates, and you're like, what? You're like so radically different. And let me just say that, you know, John and I, from my perspective anyway, didn't get on. We just didn't get on. He pissed me off all the time. I probably pissed him off as well, but then maybe not. He could see further, a lot further, of course, and he saw something in me. Many years later, from one of his wives, she told me that he'd been given in vision and in the dream time that a South African would come and cross his path. And this, I don't know if you know Baba Krida Mutwe, who's the was the medicine elder of the Zulu nation where I grew up, of the black people there. And he'd had a vision and a dream that he needed to go meet Credo. And there was a connection through me and being South African that that would happen. That probably happened on an energetic level because when he did go there, I couldn't go. I was bringing up my son, and I decided not to leave my son and go walk about around the world. As exciting as that was, again, my spirit said to me, I divorced, unfortunately, at that point. It wasn't fair for me to go walk about with a medicine elder around the world, as much as a part of me was like, oh my God, what an adventure, what a gift. I decided to honor the responsibility of being a parent and bring up my son or our son in Scotland. So I didn't go. In the quantum field, the energetics were there. So he went and he did meet with Credo, and Credo had the same dream about meeting John. And so these two medicine men met, and they actually did a couple of radio interviews while he was in Cape Town, and they managed to hook up. But yeah, we just like, he just pissed me off. And years on, oh, actually, we're quite similar. And that's probably why he is this mirror. You know, he showed me parts of myself that needed work on it. That shadow work, that arrogant youth of I know everything. What the fuck do you know? You know, like, come on, I've paid my money, give me the goods. That arrogant Western belief system of I've paid you the money, man, you got to give me the stuff. It don't work like that with real people, indigenous teachers. It's like, no, actually, the silence will give you more, so I'll give you nothing. Whoa, that did not go down with my arrogant personality and my ego. Let me tell you, that was a hard road, man, and it still is. It's the silence is the most powerful tool there is. To looking in the mirror, most people don't want to look in the mirror at themselves and do mirror work. What is the light that's looking? What is the intelligence that looks through my eyes back at me? That's a scary thing for people. You got to do that. You got to know who you are. And, you know, Jeff Tucker was a completely different kind of guy. John was big, round barreled man. John was tall and skinny. I mean, like a Laurel and Hardy. I mean, it was just hilarious. And Jeff had like such a different sense of humor, which is more in line with me. So it's like 15, 18 years later, Jeff comes along and he's like an easier guy for me to connect with. And he brought in different teachings and different medicine as well, you know, which opened up, again, different things to me. And as both these teachers have said, you know, yes, we might have similarities, Jason, on my medicine and my medicine of what I bring into the world, but it's not for you to become me. My job as your elder is to try and let you unfold into your divinity, into your uniqueness, there's nobody else like you on the planet. Everyone is unique. So what is spirit bringing that is unique through your vibration to the planet? And it's our job, kicking or screaming, laughing, whatever it takes to allow that soul to shine through the corrupted brain and the ego and the personality of what you've been born into, that will shine out into your uniqueness for the planet, for the tribe of humanity. Wow. Okay, no wonder I was kicking and screaming.
And that brings us back to what you were saying at the beginning, right? When a child is born, it's like what gifts from spirit are they bringing that are unique,
100%.
that
Yeah.
we haven't seen before, that you know, that.
Yeah.
So, and that's the excitement of the journey, of the path. And we do get to a point in our path and our journey where it starts to become exciting. You know, what's going to happen next? Where is this taking me? Why is this happening? It's like, I know spirit will show me in time, but that's the confidence that comes with having followed this path and really learning to align with spirit and with our inner knowing and our unique spiritual gifts, and as well as all those teachers who trigger us, who are our greatest gifts.
They are.
And I feel also learning to be comfortable with triggering other people, because very often I'm guided to say or do things that I know is going to trigger someone, but it's
Oh yeah.
their highest and best good.
How to make friends and influence people? Not this path.
Yeah.
They love to hate you. You know, they come with the issues and they want to change, and you might be able to help facilitate them to change themselves. To me, it's about empowering the person. Like I was empowered to change myself. They never changed me. They allowed me to see my light and my darkness and the balance between those two things in myself, to bring the balance in the beauty way. You aren't all shiny all the time. There's no way. If you think you're shiny and light all the time, you're deluded. You know, in some teachings, the darkness is a scary thing. It's not. The darkness, if it wasn't for the darkness, light came out of the darkness. Without darkness, there is no light. So let's get the priorities right here.
Yeah. And
You have
darkness
to
is where we
embrace the
rest.
womb. You've got to embrace the darkness, the void, the great mother, to give birth to the light. And that's been corrupted, in my opinion, through mainstream religions, who are all light followers. No, you're not. The two symbiotically work together, which is also the two hemispheres, which are the negative, positive, and not as in like bad and good, not that,
Yeah.
but the actual like electrochemical male, female, negative,
Yeah.
positive, are the two hemispheres. And the two hemispheres of the brain, the masculine, feminine, however, they've become corrupted. But if you go into this vehicle, and then with the pineal and the pituitary gland in the middle, which is the um, transformation crystals in your brain, which bring the pyramid or the triangle into place between these hemispheres, that's when you wake up and go, "Oh, I'm not who I am."
I'm not who I was
Ah,
told I was, right?
exactly. Who I culturally was told that this is all you will be and all you are, and you must listen to us because we know better than you. Oh, what a lie, what a con that's been put upon most of us. And it's a bit like the Matrix, it's like in those films which woke up millions of people. And it's a great analogy because it's like, are you getting unplugged? And did some of the kids come in aren't even plugged in anymore? They didn't have to go through that. They're coming in here. They're not doing this.
I
They're
know.
here already. And they're holding this
Amazing.
frequency. So, I look at, you say, I was further down the road than you when we met. I want to counter that. I think that's bullshit. That's coming, Tanya, that's coming from a perspective of a human being, not from your soul.
Yeah. I
Would you
think,
agree?
yes. I mean,
Okay.
that's because I don't feel like that now necessarily, but I recognize the value of what you brought to me and the medicine you were carrying and what you represented. And that encouragement and inspiration, right? Which is,
Exactly. Allowed you to all of a sudden go into light speed and go, oh, oh, boom. And then you've hit light speed in the last 7 years. I've lost your audio now.
pause this.
The audio, yeah. We
Okay,
went
so
into light speed, and all of a sudden
we went
we
into light
lost each
speed,
other.
but we've come back. We're
Boom.
back in the we're back in the atmosphere. We're back now.
Yeah.
So we went into light speed. What were you saying as that happened?
I was basically saying that I connected with you. We did a vision quest. In those 12 days that we spent, I didn't know you. I felt a deep connection with you. Um, we went on our quest with others, and our friendship has maintained for the next 7 years.
Yeah,
Um, and we don't live in each other's pockets, but when we need each other or whatever, we find one another and we do things like we're doing now,
yeah,
And so spirit guides you, and I don't believe you need to live with your teachers. You've got to, take your bits and then go try it out. And it's like, if you want to make a good sword or a knife, you've got to beat it, put it in the fire, beat it, quench it, cool it down, put it back in the fire, beat it. And the beating of that is sometimes going into the fires with your teacher, which brings up questions like, oh my God, oh, I hate you, you piss me off, oh, I love you. They're equally, pissing off and loving is equally dangerous. Pedestal, no pedestal. It's to try to find the middle way here. And then you're going to go into the water and get drowned a bit, which is the underworld. And then once you've learned enough of that underworld stuff, they're going to take you out, stick you back in the fire. And so we go through these chapters of turning you into a beautiful piece of steel that when it's hit, it won't crack, it won't shatter, it'll bend, it's got a sharp point. And it's that sacred alchemy of metallurgy in this as well that you could say is quickening the spirit. And this is the earth walk. This is a university of quickening the spirit, of getting beaten with the anvil of Thor to shape you into your unique beauty, and that can be one hell of a ride, and everybody is different.
yeah,
Let's respect that everybody is different and no one's the same. We have similarities along the way, but you are unique, and your path, nobody else can walk it, nobody else can breathe and live it but you. And that can be very scary, where we're told to be in the herd and all wear Nike or all wear these trainers, or we all have to wear the same uniform, where our spirit is saying, no, I am unique. And our culture says, no, you mustn't show that. That can be really scary,
yes, yes, it is,
particularly with
and
teenagers.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there is that, and it's some journey, and
Hey, never a dull day on the
everyone,
planet.
yeah, and we're sharing parts of that journey, and just that deepening trust, and like you say, becoming that sharp sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that's been helpful.
It's been amazing, Jason. Thank you so much. I know you've got so much to share about many other things, so I hope you'll come back at some
Well,
point. And I
there's
appreciate you
another
being here for my
there's
launch.
there's another ancient saying, which is always be in gratitude. And if somebody offers you something, even if you don't want it, accept it, because otherwise you're taking away their gift to you. That was a hard one for me to learn.
Yeah,
I'll share it here. So I'm here today because you asked me, and you have seen something, hopefully, of value in what you're trying to manifest into the world on your unique path, and that I can share something of myself. So if you keep asking, if I can, I will keep showing up to help you
thank you.
and all the others out there. That's
Yeah,
what we're here for, right? Help each other. We're one
yeah.
human family.
To
One
encourage
planet.
and inspire with our journeys and share.
Indeed.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for everyone who has watched and or listened, and hope to see both you again, Jason, and our
I'm
collective
sure our
who are
paths will
watching.
cross on the roundabout of life, dear sister.
I'm sure. All right.
Until then,
Sending you all much love,
breathe
and
well.
see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.